Hello. Okay, good. This works. And just FYI, I'm using my phone not to text anybody, which you guys shouldn't be either because we have a fabulous panel here for you. I just have my notes on here. We already had a quick introduction, but I wanted to let each of our panelists, our experts, just take a quick, maybe 30 seconds, explain a little bit more about what you're doing right now before we dive in so that you guys have some context as we go into more bots and AI. So take it away.
Sure. Perry Evans, my company is Closely. We have a small business mobile application experience called Perch, and we're experimenting very actively with how chatbots integrate into guiding a small business to interact with their customers. And I've been around the messaging tech space for more years than I care to admit, but it's great to see it finally coming together.
Good morning, my name is Sherif. Mityas. I'm with the TGI Fridays brand, and I've been with them for a few years. For that, a number of different consulting industry engagements in the retail and hospitality space. And from a Fridays perspective, we are really all about kind of engaging with our guests and really utilizing bot and AI technology to help us do that.
Hey, good morning. I am Mariano Medina Walker. I work at Microsoft on the search advertising business, working with SMBs and channel partners that help SMBs grow the business through advertising, and obviously working closely with the Bing product team. I've been at Microsoft for almost 9 years.
Great. And again, my name is Adelyn Zhou, and I'm a CMO of TOPBOTS. We write about this space, we research it, and recommend if you guys have a chance to check out topbots.com to look at how companies are using applied AI and bots. But with that, let's just get a show of hands. How many of you here know what bots are? Great, almost everybody. How many of you guys have talked to some sort of bot, either a skill on Alexa or Facebook Messenger? Okay, so you guys already pretty much know. And what about companies? How many of you guys are already using one in your different businesses? Okay, so a bunch of you are, maybe only 20% are using it. So the rest of you, 80%, are potentially thinking, how do I use this? How is this applicable? Or should I even be doing this? Okay, so then we don't really need to go into definitions, it seems like, because everyone really knows. But since our title is Bots and AI, one really quick question for you guys. Are bots AI, or is AI necessarily bots? Can maybe someone give a quick definition?
Well, I mean, from our perspective, they're very different. Bots is like the vehicle, the box. It can cross channels. It's basically the delivery mechanism. AI is the brains, right? It's what and how do you converse with an individual through the bot technology. But AI is listening, AI is analytics, AI is predictive, AI is about learning, and the bots is the box.
Got it. And not all bots have AI or could be AI.
Correct.
I see. And Microsoft, so why don't we dive a little bit more? I know you guys recently had Microsoft Build and announced a lot with bots in it. Maybe could you share a little bit more?
Yes. Basically, what we are doing is enabling every business to create their bots. So we have announced a bot framework in which every company can build their bot and publish that bot either to Microsoft first-party channels like Skype or Bing, but also to third-party channels like Slack or Facebook Messenger. So there are a lot of tools there to really easily build bots with your own data. A good example is like if you have a frequently asked questions on your website, you can put that data on a wizard and you will have your bot created. And as Sherif was saying, this will be plugged to Microsoft Intelligent Platform, which is AI with all the cognitive services, and also, on top of that, the cloud power that will enable this to be really fast and intelligent. So we are on early stages, but I think, technology is evolving really fast, and that will enable every business to, create their own bot.
And so a lot of large companies like Microsoft, Google, Facebook are all announcing these bot platforms. Anyone seems to be able to build one on top of them. But where are we in the state of the world? Like, what have we seen? And I know a lot of our audience are small businesses. Is this for everybody? And how are you seeing, especially with your world and the small business side, is this something that everyone else should be thinking about?
Yeah, I guess I think it's impractical to think of a small business building their own bot. I think you're going to see bots emerge as components of solutions to a business problem. A business doesn't wake up saying, I have to go shop for a bot today. They wake up with a problem that says, how do I get more customers, or how do I convert better? How do I get more performance out of my marketing? So what we've been focused on is really the enabling layer to me between the small business and getting the impact from a bot is really around where we're putting our focus, which is a conversational experience. So the basic premise is that when you give the ability in a more powerful way for a business to interact with their customers in a more natural experience, then you see a substantial improvement in how well they do their marketing and how engaged they get. That's sort of the transformative kind of layer that we think will lead small businesses into understanding what can happen with bots, and bots can cascade from that into much more productive roles. But if you just put it in as an isolated application, it's too hard. You're fighting for attention. There's too much of a learning curve, and it isn't really a point solution. It has to be a component of something more integrated.
So you mentioned about marketing, about customer service. Are these the areas that you see most bots being used, or like how are they being used by businesses?
Yeah, I think for the small business, there's certainly some great examples of transactional service-oriented bots, like pathing a user automatically through to a reservation, is the obvious example. So you're seeing those components, but clearly in either marketing, customer service, or transactional flows is where we see most of the action today.
So you mentioned reservation. I don't know if this was meant to be passed on to Sherif, but I know, Sherif, you guys created a bot last fall, and it has to do with reservations. Could you share a little bit more?
Sure. Yeah. So we partnered with a group that helped us create our bots, and
Maybe be closer to.
sorry, we're on Facebook Messenger, Twitter, Amazon Alexa, soon to be other voice platforms, and it started as a bot to just converse with our guests, right? If they want to know where the closest Fridays were, what the happy hour specials were. It then turned into reservations, so folks could make reservations, join our wait list, join rewards, our loyalty program. And now we're even directing consumers to order their favorite Fridays burgers and ribs through the bot. So people can talk or tweet and make an order at their local Fridays. And so it's really just a progression of this kind of crawl, walk, run from an engagement perspective. But similar to what Perry said, it also allows us to be a part of a larger thing for us, which is capture all this engagement and data from our guests. So we can understand that, yesterday, lots of people in the Northeast were tweeting about how hot it was and about looking for a cold drink at happy hour. And so how do we take that data from that engagement that we've been able to have through our bot and use that to reach back out to those consumers and give them a special deal for a hot day in New York?
And you mentioned you're on different platforms, right, from Facebook and Twitter. How did you select which platforms to build it on, and what type of engagement have you seen similar or different across the different platforms?
Yeah, that's the problem with consumers, is they don't all stick to one platform. They're finicky that way. So we have to be everywhere. We have to be in places where their eyeballs are, and obviously we start with the two that are the largest. But we'll continue to go to Slack and Kik and a number of the other platforms because, we need share of mind and share of stomach and share of eyeballs. And so our ability to be on platforms where our guests are continues to expand where we need to place our AI and our bot technology, to appropriately move where our consumers are moving.
Were there any surprises between Facebook and Twitter? I've heard there are, so I'd love to hear.
There definitely is. And so part of also the learning is when we reach back out, and our conversational tone has to be a Facebook tone or a Twitter tone, because it's very important to speak back in the language and in the contextual kind of conversation that those folks are talking in the platforms. So talking back to a Twitter person is quite different than a Facebook person.
How different? Is it other than 140 characters?
Well, I have to use more emojis.
And when you're doing bots too, at Microsoft, I know they also support emojis and stuff. It feels like I've heard also that GIFs are great and emojis, and it's a very conversational experience. Can you talk a little bit more maybe about Microsoft and what you guys seen on the platform side, if anything, from how different people are conversing with them?
Yeah, sure, and this is related to, the question of how AI plays with the bot, because the cognitive services is the key to understand the difference between a happy face and a sad face. So that to give a silly example, but AI can go even more complex to understand emotions and feelings and desires. So again, we are starting this, but the conversation as a platform, it's the new canvas. It used to be in the 80s, the PC-centric with software. Then in the 90s, changed to the web, then to apps, and now we are seeing that chatting. The top 4, I think, chatting platforms are exceeding every other platform, like social media or website. So I think this technology will help any business to enrich what they have today. Because most of businesses today have a website or an app. This new platform is not coming to replace now, and you just be there with a bot and do nothing else, just to enrich your online presence. And you will have someone that will be there for you, as Sherif was saying, engaging with your customers 24/7, and will get more intelligent every day. So I think that's the key. And there are many providers, as you were saying, not just us, all the top technology platforms, Amazon, Facebook, Google, we are all working on this. And the good thing is that we are probably for the first time being really open. You can build something on our platform and publish that on Facebook. So I think it's something that it's here to stay, and it will get better and better every day, and will help businesses from now and beyond to engage better with customers.
The other way to think about this is also that instead of, I think people make the mistake of thinking of this as just a natural kind of iteration of text messaging, and I don't think it is. What it really is it gives, especially for a small business owner, if you think of an example of a path of a consumer trying to decide if they're going to go to that restaurant, they will want to rapid fire ask 4 questions that are in line with them making their decision on that shopping choice in the moment. That's completely different than expecting them to go to the Yelp page, look for the menu, see what's on there, go look at the reviews, find out if there's an available appointment. They want to ask in a series of questions to say, do you have this? Are you busy now? Can I seat 4 people? And they want that in rapid succession, and they will make a streamlined decision from that path. That creates a new search path and a new opportunity to close a transaction with the consumer. And our job is to put behind that experience a natural way for a business to very productively just toggle their way through things that just instantly provide a simple carousel of images, or a quick way to view the menu, or a quick form for a reservation in the next 2 hours, and just make it a natural search and transaction flow. And that's where the action really is. And I think that's a better way to think about this. This is not text messaging with emoticons attached. This is a new pattern of commerce that is conversational.
Yes, and that's why you have new terms and keywords like conversational commerce, conversational UX, conversational UI, all of these new terms that thought leaders are now promoting.
And we actually put up, if there wasn't time for doing a demo, but if you want to see a preview of what we've done on conversational UX for small businesses, it's up on, if you just go perchapp.com/SFSNYC, you can see a preview of what we've done in conversational user experience that puts a way for the small business owner to be coached through the interaction with their customers in social.
Do you? No. Oh, and so These are great. I think everyone seems at least bought on. How many of you guys are thinking of trying a bot or building a bot? Okay, so a lot of people are. How do people get started? Like, where do they go? How do they build that first conversation? Where do they go to the crawl section?
Yeah, I think you gotta. It's good to surround yourself with smart people. So there's lots of smart people. There's folks out there, as Mariano said, and Perry's business that are doing it already. They've created kind of what I'll call the baby, and it's up to you as the small business owner, as the organization, to teach it, right? You got to help kind of nurture it. But I wouldn't do anything alone, given our experience. It's good to find some smart partners out there, really build the platform that you want, and really think about it, to Perry's point, as a piece of the larger strategy, right? So no one is going to live and die by a bot, but a bot as part of a larger kind of learning organization, innovation strategy that allows the organization to, again, in my mind, the bots are there to engage, but listen first. And it's that listening and that data capture that you get from all these separate conversations that help the organization be smarter. So how do you use that data? If we just use bots to replace our customer call center, that would be meaningless, right? It would be a small win, but not really innovative, and not really get us to where we want to from a growth perspective. So it's not about cost savings, it's about growth. So you start with the technology with partners that allow you to learn, and then how do you use that at scale to make an impact on your guest?
Interesting observation as well, and I think it's probably quite a bit different for a chain that has a lot of formal resource behind it and an independent small business. For an independent small business, I mean, most everybody in this audience have struggled over the last 5 or 10 years with how do you even get that business to complete their website and have enough content up or fill out the content that helps a consumer do their shopping. To me, conversational experiences have the opportunity to leapfrog to some degree the problems we have in getting content published by the small business. The reality is we're still, the most successful business in our last 5 years is the guys helping do name, address, and phone number standardization in the business. So we're a long ways from having the right content available to the consumer to make their shopping decisions successful. So I'm very bullish on conversational paths as a more natural way where the business can still interact smartly with that customer and learn what kind of content actually closes the deal for them and builds up a kind of a new model of better shopping data for the consumer.
I will recommend to start learning about this topic. It's something, as we said, on early stages, but you can see here with Sherif, a big brand using it already with good results and being an example for the industry. You can go to, at least from Microsoft standpoint, you can go to dev.botframework.com. There is a lot of information there. You can learn about what's happening in the world. I don't know how many of you know about WeChat in India, but WeChat, it's a platform, a conversational platform, and there are thousands of bots there, and people buy airline tickets on WeChat. So in China today, a technology company that will launch a service will think WeChat first. Before launching an app, they will launch a bot on WeChat. So that's a China thing now, but you can read on the web about WeChat, and you will see or have a flavor of what's coming or what's happening around the world. So I think it's a really good moment to start learning about it, start testing, finding the right partner to do it. And again, on our bot framework, it's, I think, a good place to start, at least the one I know most. So that's my recommendation.
Very interesting. I just bought a ticket on airline ticket on WeChat 2 weeks ago. It was actually the best experience ever. All I had to do was put in my phone number and then snap a picture, and it was done. I didn't have to do a credit card. I paid for everything within WeChat. So like you said, amazing. And another tidbit, I was in China last week at the Big Data Expo and met a company called Xiaoai. They have 90% of the bot market. They create 90% of all the bots for the major banks and businesses, and their WeChat bot for like the equivalent of a Bank of America in China processes 2 million conversations a day. I'm just like, that's insane. So in terms of where to look for the future, that is definitely one. And then one other thing, I was asking, how do you get started? When I talk to a lot of companies and they ask, where do I go to start getting a bot built? There's a couple major sources. One, agency. If you're large enough, lucky enough of a brand to have an agency, a lot of times they go to their agency partners. The second are do-it-yourself types of bot platforms. Common ones are Octane. It seems like you guys have one at Perch. Pandora bots, Chat Fuel, those are all some of the names of DIY platforms. And then the third is to hire your own developers or people who are a little bit more technical and build one yourself on Microsoft Bot Framework, Wit.ai, which is part of Facebook, or API.ai, which was acquired by Google. So those are some other ways to get in and actually start building something. So we've been talking a lot about different bots and things like that. What are your favorite ones? Are there some that you would say, hey, if I could build one like that, I look forward to that, or that you actually use every day, if any?
To be honest, I'm going to be the naysayer on this. I find that most of the experiences are so narrowly cast that they fall off the rails pretty quickly, either in just problems in text recognition that goes wrong, or just haven't thought through the use cases particularly well. So I really feel like it's early days, and a lot more work needs to go into the curation of the conversation that gets automated. And that tends to be where developers fall apart, is they don't know enough about the conversation design and the flow to make it really effective outside of really specific shopping experiences. So for broad small business usage, I think it's still pretty early days. For key segments like a restaurant, it's much more predictable.
When do you think it will become more mainstream?
I think it's moving pretty quickly. I think if you really look at where most small businesses are today, though, the first layer is just getting into the flow on message interaction with customers. I think when you get in that flow, it becomes much more obvious what you'd like to put behind that interaction. And the reality is there's still, 10 or 12 million businesses on landlines out there that could, for $20 a month, be flipped over with a zip whip to a live messaging implementation of their core phone number. Those are the sort of the foundational pieces that we see as, so start with conversation technology, and then it's going to be much more easy for them to understand where bots fit in behind that, is the way we see it. So our pathing, if you will, is bring them into conversational technology and experience first, and then cascade a lot of automation behind that.
No, I would echo those comments. I think, selfishly, even I would say the Fridays bot is starting, but it's got a long way to go, and I think that we all do, because we're still in that crawl stage of crawl, walk, run. And I think once we get more of that really contextual basis for the conversations and make it more natural versus transactional, is really when you're going to start to see the power of these vehicles open up. And at this point, it's still great for us. From a transactional perspective, we do 20% more through our bots, just in online ordering, than we do through our normal app.
Can you say that again?
20% increase when we launch bots in online ordering versus people using their app and website. So we envision a day where we will no longer need the Fridays app, right? We will no longer have an app, because people are going to be talking to us on the platforms in which they already are talking. And why should I make them get away from an Alexa or a Google or a Microsoft or a Facebook or a Twitter to come to my app or website? That doesn't make sense. So why would I need an app in that world? So an app, to me, apps overall are a transitory experience, and they will go away. But we need to get to the point where Perry was saying, which is more of a natural conversation, more of a natural contextual conversation in terms of engaging with guests when and where they want to versus having someone hit an app button.
So you say apps will go away. Some other people are saying websites will go away. Where do you guys fall on that?
I think, they will be overlapping. There are apps today, and we are on the app era, but there's still websites. And, depending on each consumer, will prefer to do some stuff on the phone and then go and buy on your laptop or your tablet. So I truly believe that this is the new canvas. The messaging apps is where the people is. WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, iMessage, and it will make sense to do more stuff there. And the technology is getting there. The cognitive services are growing rapidly. We were talking about at Microsoft, speech recognition had reached human parity. If you talk with a researcher at Microsoft that has been working on this for 25 years, probably 2 years ago they will say, no, you are crazy, we'll never reach human parity. And now we are there. It was on the news. With every cognitive services on AI will go and getting better. I think what Perry was saying about the conversational, the natural way to talk with someone will be better when you talk with a bot. So, we can't say in 1 year, 2 years, because really technology is evolving so quickly that, I think it will be sooner than later. But again, we are now at the crisp of this new era. So it's very interesting and exciting to be on this.
Yeah. I think if you think of what's the role of an app, what's the role of a website, it's basically to organize and present the content that puts the best foot forward for the business and provides the shopping information that a consumer needs to make their decision. So all you're really doing is reorganizing that content into a new experience flow. And I think it's an opportunity in many cases for a small business to control the flow, which they can't do on the Yelp page. They can't do it on their Facebook page even. And so the ability to control and direct and converse with a customer towards a buying path, I think is actually an upside opportunity for the business. I don't think apps go away or websites go away. It's the reformulation of that content into different user shopping flows, really.
It's a really good way to think about it. With that, we have time probably for one question. Anybody with a burning question? Yes. There's.
Thank you. My name is Mike. I'm from next door. I studied a lot of American history in college, and I'm hearing you guys speak about bots, and the thing that's, I don't know, I guess jumping out at me is I just keep thinking about Native Americans and how they use dogs and how they saw them as almost a utilitarian component to building their life. And for whatever reason, I don't know, that's the analogy I'm thinking of. Do you guys understand that? Do you see that? And unlike dogs, how would you see bots or AI evolving for your business over the next few years?
Well, dogs. I think, again, for us, there will always be human interaction. We have a social media team. They have the best jobs in our company. They basically sit in a room with lots of screens and they talk to people all day on different platforms. The bots haven't replaced those people. They won't replace those people. The bots will help them be smarter about who and how they're engaging with people. The bots will help us in terms of making people have higher level interactions, higher level discussions. But bots will evolve to help us as humans, in my opinion, be smarter about those interactions and be smarter about how we interact with guests in our world. And so that, to me, is how we start bringing kind of the two together. They are a support network. They are a support system. They allow us to do things faster, better, more intelligently from an analytical perspective than someone that can sit with a paper and pencil. But there's not a replacement.
A great practical example that I heard a year or so ago is just think of how many times you get annoyed standing in line at a retail counter when the phone rings and that clerk is talking to another customer while they're checking you out, that's not a good experience for either customer. That kind of an experience can be parsed to a bot to automate the majority of the reasons for those calls into a new, better experience, and the clerk can be enabled by just pushing a couple of buttons to enact a different script that is happening behind the scenes. So think of it really as working into the flow of customer interaction in a much more supportive way that really can do a better job of customer experience on both sides.
Great. Well, thank you all so much, and thank you to our panelists for sharing your insights.